Good evening and welcome to Alive, brought to you by Lupin and conceptualized by Medwiz. Alive. Are we all really alive? What is it that keeps you alive? What is it that keeps our doctors alive? What is it that gives them purpose to go on day after day? Alive is really about saluting our unsung heroes, our doctors and our healthcare professionals. Alive is a platform to bring to you real life stories, the numerous sacrifices made by doctors, the numerous encounters that they have with their patients, the connect that they bring to their patients' lives. It is about stories of every person whose life they have improved or have saved. It is about positivity, about those who put their heart and soul into what they work. They work for humanity and so much more. You know, we all believe that working as a doctor is very, very challenging. Yes, keeping the interest of the patient above all. We bring to you first-hand account of what really goes behind the work of a doctor, the back-end story, the behind-the-curtains heroes, the endless hours of work that they put in to save lives, and so much more. Every day we see doctors go beyond their duty calls. They see so much pain, and yet they change lives for the better. So there's a lot that we're going to bring for our viewers this evening. And as I thank you for joining in, Yatin, we would love to bring some live pictures out here of some beautiful moments that have been created by in very, very challenging times, as we've seen frontline workers work towards achieving so much more for patients, for victims. Bring to you some very heartwarming pictures of doctors and our various frontline workers really rising to the occasion time and again. Here we go. A very warm welcome to Dr. IPS Oberoi, Head Orthopedics and Chief Joint Replacement and Arthroscopy, Artemis Hospital, Gurugram. I'd like to extend a very, very warm welcome to him. He has in the past worked with survivors at Bhuj earthquake, Samjhauta Express bombing, various railway accidents, to name just a few. Just like Yatin mentioned, very recently he has been the recipient of Bharat Shiromani Awards amongst many others. I'd also like to mention here that he has been working with victims at war zones. I'd also like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Anil Suchak, Medical Director, Suchak Hospital, Mumbai. He has carried out relief work and treated survivors at Latur earthquake, Kutch earthquake, worked in various flood-affected areas amongst many, many others. An advocate when it comes to organ donation, really keeps the spirits high with his positivity. Thank you so very much, both of you all, for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have both of you right here this evening to share those tips and tricks. Like we mentioned earlier, we look forward to learning from you. Dr. Suchak, sir, you have been at the site of major flood-affected areas where people are dying, they're really losing homes, they're losing livelihoods. Really, if we think about it, they are losing everything that they build in their lives. At such point, when you see them sort of hoping for that another life to hold on to, how challenging has it been for you and the teams working at flood-affected areas?
Yeah. Thank you, Isha. It's a pleasure to be talking to you today at the platform of Alive. I would like to mention first that during any relief work, you are not ready because this is absolutely sudden. Either it's an earthquake or it's in a flood. we have to work with whatever medical supplies we got. We cannot expect the facilities of a hospital in a place where there is earthquake or something like that. So we have to manage with absolutely minimum things. And you know what I had the experience was that the energy comes automatically, organically. It's fantastic when you are on a mode of helping the victims of either earthquake or the tremendously. I would first start with Latur. It was 1993. You know, when we got the message that there's a big earthquake, and I remember it was the 26th January. I was on a school platform giving a talk, and there the earthquake vibration came. And then I was told by my wife that there's a big earthquake and, you know, come back home fast. So when I reached home, we decided to travel from Bombay to Latur immediately with a team of doctors from here. And in about few hours, almost like 12 to 14 hours, we reached Latur. Latur was very drastically damaged in the sense the houses had collapsed, the people staying there had absolutely, you know, compressed with the walls and everything. So when we reached there, we realized that we need to look for a place where we would put up our tents or work. On the way from Latur to Killari, Killari was the most affected place. So we were told, go to Killari, there is not enough help. And when we reached Killari, we saw some people putting up tents. As soon as we talked to them, it was being put by the army. So I spoke to the commanding officer. Okay, we are a doctor team and I run a hospital in Bombay. So how can we? He says, please join. We need manpower. We need doctors. We had surgeons. We had orthopedics, well, doctors and about 6-7 people and 2 ambulances. So the relief work started right there at Latur with the army. And we almost worked for almost a month over there. First was to identify patients who were very serious and who had multiple fractures and who could not be managed to be operated in those tents. So we had to shift them to the civic hospital. Civil hospital was there about 15-20 kilometers away in our ambulances. First stabilize them, then send them there. Other patients with minor injuries, we could manage over there. But it was such a draconian, this thing. Lot of children, lot of women, they were brought out dead from the rubbles of earthquake. So it was, you know, very, very ghastly appearance, and all the villagers were working. The government help was still not there. Army people and the surrounding villages who were not damaged that much, they all came for the rescue, and the work started gradually of shifting people from there. And then after almost we shifted those patients who needed operation at the civil hospital. Our surgeons, our orthopedic surgeons, they were operating day and night, 24/7. You will not believe we had to collect bottles of blood because there was no proper blood bank. So we managed to set up we had a pathologist who would check the things, and, you know, at that time we did not do all those tests of hepatitis and all, and just collected blood because we wanted to save the lives. So all those people who were in hypotension or lost a lot of blood were given blood, Hemaxil and other injections, and we could try and help we could save many lives over there. But the scene was very bad, and we realized the civil hospital there did not have the ICU. So when we finished our relief work, I came back from Bombay, collected funds, and we set up one beautiful ICU for the local people there. That was at Latur. In 2001, in the earthquake of Kutch, we were near a place called Bidada. We went to Bhuj. I knew some collector at the central government, so I spoke to him. We have a team of people, we want to help, so how do we go? So he said, you first reach to Bhuj, meet the collector, and he will guide you where the help is required. And then we reached the place called Bidada. Bidada had small hospital, but they had no enough staff and surgeons and all. So all our orthopedic surgeons, surgeons, anesthetists, medical specialists, all, and the way there was almost like 100 villages around, and the patients were brought in those Hadgadi and cart, bullock cart and all, and in bad shape, all damaged, fractures, and absolutely. So we set up those tent, and outside we started giving intravenous fluids, and with all the, you will not believe, I had some interns. They were doing work of the
Ayas.
Ayas, and we were not thinking everything. We had to give part, everything. We changed their clothes, and it was, and again, like working 18, 19, 20 hours. There were no lights. So they had arranged a generator for the hospital, and generator would only work for say 6, 8 hours, 12 hours. Again, give a gap of 1 or 2 hours, would put up the diesel and again start the generator. So that is the way we were working there. And it's unbelievable sight. It's unbelievable sight. There also we had to collect blood from the donors, help the hospital there, and all those. There were a lot of serious compound fractures. Compound fractures means the bones had come out of the skin and all. They were compound fractures. They could not be operated there. So I requested, why not shift them to Bombay? So Indian Airlines, they agreed. They removed the seats of the plane. In each plane, we put 12 patients. Those 12 patients, like in a day, we were sending 2 flights. And I took responsibility of 60 patients in Bombay. I have a hospital here, about 70-bedded hospital. We admitted all those patients here. And all my team here also started working. And it took 3 months for doing all those multiple surgeries. Could be orthopedic, then plastic, and everyone became perfectly all right. When they were fit, we sent them back to Kutch. In the meantime, a lot of people realized good work is being done. So a couple of friends, they sent some donations and all. I realized end of couple of months, I could take up a village to rebuild a village. So I went and met the collector. He pinpointed a village of 100 houses. So we rebuilt 100 houses there. We made a small primary school again and a hall. And, it took almost a year and a half. In the meantime, they were given those temporary huts and all, and we provided them ration for that village for about 1.5 years almost. So that work was unbelievable. You have to, feel the pain of the people, and then that compassion which you have to help. We are fortunate to do all this work, and saving of life is most important as far as our profession is concerned, or reducing somebody's pain, even that.
Absolutely. So very well mentioned by you that it's not easy at a point like that. And you also shared a lot about not just working at the moment, but really building on life from there, holding your victim's hand and taking them to the happy end, so to speak. Here, I'd also like to ask you, sir, you mentioned how with very few resources, all of you all work. When communication is not at its best, how are you dealing with various teams at hand, be it army, be it the local government, be it your teams? How are you really connecting to see what is the best that can be done for patients, and what were you doing to make sure that at that point in time you can help the patients that need maximum attention? How were you really prioritizing?
See, 93 Latur, there was no mobile phone. I remember we had something like radio. This thing was there. Those people would go from one set to the other set. They would communicate. That's the way. It was very difficult at that time, and we had to send people by vehicle. But Latur, Kutch was comparatively easier. The mobile phones were still working. With the generator, they could set up. We had to go to Bhuj to call people, say about 40 kilometers away. And we started getting help and medical also, those blankets and lanterns and torches and chadars, and we got more help also. We got more volunteers in a couple of days. So that started, so we could divide the work otherwise later on, because it becomes very difficult with less human resources to get to everyone. And I remember a child also who was removed from the house after about 2.5 days. It was almost 1.5-year-old child. And child was crying, dehydrated. He got tired of crying also. And then when they removed, we had to first give IV fluids to, check out everything. There are, injuries and all. And then when we gave some IV fluids and all, gradually the child, came around. We were very happy to see that. So such cases we see in such circumstances. And it's very, very satisfying in a way. But we, as a doctor, feel the facility of areas, small rural places, are not adequate. In cities, we have everything. Towns, we have got second, the towns, we are still better off. But small villages and all, where there are some primary health centers, there may be doctor, there may not be doctor, but not enough facilities. So we have to move those resources from the cities to that place.
Ask this question to Dr. Suchak. When it really comes to disaster management, which is a very essential component of medical training, do you feel that our country is giving apt attention to training of health care professionals? What do you think we can really bring about the changes that we must work towards?
See, Isha, first of all, I want to mention that when we did our graduation and post-graduation, there was no disaster management at that time. Recently, in last few years, they have started in the subject of preventive and social medicine, one chapter, which is not adequate if you ask me. They have to train the undergraduates and then the postgraduates later on. And such things can be easily managed. Like Bombay have a trauma center, which is Sion Hospital, very famous. All trauma patients from all over the accidents and all, they come to Sion Hospital and they're separate. So such training or exposure should be given to all the people who are passing, because you go to rural places where there are less facilities, but nobody is there to train you properly that way. So training has to be put into the medical education, and all people who are passing, becoming doctors, they should know about all this disaster management training.
Well, Dr. Suchak, you've been actually responsible in creating and mobilizing quite a lot of time these kind of a team, getting across all doctors on board, spreading across, getting the team that how Dr. Oberoi has highlighted, training your own staff. Can you share some experiences, how to go about it and how to take it across? And maybe some incident where you actually did it on hand.
See, for me, it was not difficult because I am running a hospital which is 70-bedded with staff of 130 people. So I have almost like 40 consultants attached and a good number of trained people who could, and in a way, they are always whenever such national calamity occurs. So, and I have always headed not even the local Malad Medical, but even Indian Medical Association. All. For me, getting doctors 30, 40, 50 is not a problem at all. And only thing is we have to get resources, get all, like 10, 15 vehicles, we all start living together. In few hours, we get together. And wherever the problems are, we try and reach them. And we have the advantage in our hospital, we have enough medical resources. So what we put in the ambulance, all those gadgets, drums, and, dressing materials and instruments. And then, we are in a way much better. All the IV fluids, Venflo cannulas, and all those things. So for us, and we have an ICU ambulance with a small ventilator. And we have ICU trained doctors also. So for us, it has been always easy for going anywhere. But only thing is at times, I remember when we went to Kutch, they had blocked the roads for going into the village. So I had to speak to the collector. And it was, I had the context to go to the, otherwise you go with all those things and you are not allowed. Because, and you will not believe, so many people are injured, so many lives are lost. In each family member, I was lost 1 or 2 or 3 family members, or sometimes the whole family is gone. And at one time, after organizing all that, those dead people were removed. There were like hundreds of dead bodies lying, and they had to be given funeral. So we had to arrange a separate area with those local people there, to give that respect to the people who are, but identify them with the local authorities. Because even the people working in the municipal corporation, local, everyone is, damaged with some, either their family member is lost. So there was no staff of the government, local government there. So it has been quite a difficult experience, learning experience. But in a couple of days, we started getting more help from the state government, from Ahmedabad, and then gradually things were getting. A lot of NGOs joined, Rotary Club, and many other, and they were ready to do any work, absolutely. I remember when we went from here, so local, this Daisar, this is the first hot way. So we said, let's put all the fuel and all. The guy said, where are you going? So we said, we're going to Kutch for the earthquake. Nobody charged a single rupee for any fuels to be put in so many vehicles. And not only that, they had a shop, they opened up the shop. You want biscuits, this, that, water bottles, just take it. So every citizen is ready to help for such things. And it's an experience, I'm telling you. But working day in and day out, it's
tiring.
They're tiring, but you don't mind it. You get 2-3 hours sleep, you're fine. But again, where to sleep? Either tents or you sit in a car and which is away from some tree, because the jerks were continuing. It had not stopped. So it was an experience that way. And I'm telling you, this should be a part of medical syllabus. They have to be taught in education, the final MBBS and all. And when they're doing internship, they have to be posted with such, wherever there is calamity, they have to be sent for some training. That will help. And we need more paramedical staff also. What doctor mentioned, paramedical staff is also not easily available. And nobody wants to leave your own comfort zone of a city and go and, leave your family and go. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or day after. But it is very satisfying. Our life is to save somebody, to reduce somebody's harm. That is gift of life given to us. And we don't mind doing it all through our life. So there is no question about it.
Amazing, sir. So inspiring. Dr. Souchak, both as a team leader and someone who has so much of experience in setting up operation theatres.
I am an anesthetist and an intensivist. For me, it was easy as a team leader to differentiate which patients are serious, which needs more attention, which is less. Go to the OT, this guy can go to the ward, this guy can be managed out in the tent. So all those IV lines have to be put and all those things I could manage. This guy will need blood, arrange for the blood. So all those things we would, and we had to set up only 1 or 2 OTs. You need to set up 5 OTs. How do you do that? So in ordinary room, you have to arrange on, there are no proper operation table. So you have to arrange on the bed without, the height is not proper. And people have to work in all difficult and different situations. And I'm telling you, it's a very challenging jobs. But first is what doctor mentioned. I totally agree with you. Okay, we don't think of sterility. We save the life first. Once you save the life, then better antibiotics can be given later on to clear the infection. Because it's not possible to make those good OTs or good hospital, these things. And even antibiotics, we don't get the higher antibiotics. We get the basic antibiotics. And not many places, even all those intravenous antibiotics were not available. IV bottles got over. So it becomes very, very difficult at times. And but it's an experience. It changes every hour. there's no question about it. But we manage somehow. And we may have lost patients also. It's not we haven't lost patients. But whatever best we could do to save many lives, and if somebody is destined, we are not able to help everybody. But I would say government needs to do much more in our country, because I'm not against any government. The system has to spend more money on health issues. It's not enough. It's not 1 or 2% of your budget is nothing. You need to spend some 7-8% of something like that, because it's going to save lives. And now we see during these COVID emergencies, so many. First of all, this is a new disease. We are all learning the new symptoms, the mutations, everything. Every day we are learning something. And city like Delhi and Bombay is overwhelmed with the number of patients. I have good number of contacts and good affording nice people who don't get a bed, oxygen bed. What do you do? So difficult. Last 3 months were the worst, the second phase. First phase, we were able to manage. But the second phase, I'm pained at my heart. You want to help people, you're not able to help people. How many beds extra somebody will put for you? So it has been tricky. But I think, let us see, after good vaccination, we are able to prevent the third wave or make the third wave milder, which can be managed. And in the meantime, we need to increase all our. Now what has happened is this black fungus, mucus mycosis has started. Still, we are not able to. Steroids we have been using for years and years. Last year also we used, but those people have not got it. But either it has come from the industrial oxygen which has been. Everyone is learning, and there is shortage of drugs also. We are all requesting the companies to manufacture drugs faster, and they are available for treatment. I'm sure government must be working on this day in and day out.
We are now heading to our next question to Dr. Suchak. Sir, you mentioned how we need to invest so much. At the same time, we feel, in spite of proving time and again, working endless hours, working towards the benefit of patients, we have very, very often seen that frontline workers, doctors, our health workers are not given the due for their work. They're not given the credit if they're unable to save a life. Like you said, you want to save as many lives as you can. You want to help as many patients as you can. But a lot of times we feel that doctors are not given the due credit, even though we are in gratitude of all the good that you do. What do you have to say about that?
See, Isha, we do our best to save a patient, but sometimes, in spite of all our efforts, we still lose the patient. So we always say it's God's will. We can't help each and every person. So it's not possible to satisfy, but you have to spend. See, in our training, what we do, we should be able to break the news to the relatives. You lose a patient. It's very, very important to do little grief counseling. You have to spend some time with them, sit down with them, explain to them, first understand them, and then gradually release the information, what has happened, what you did, how you tried, and So that is the way we can reduce. Otherwise, it's not possible. But you need that training also. See, when I passed in 70s. At that time, we were grief counseling and how to break the news for we lose a patient. So we learn all that during our experience and practice. And I always believe, and I say at times, I treat, he cures. Because I have faith in God and faith in the universe. So you have to do your best, otherwise, So medically, what is available? but at times we don't, 90% we may succeed, 10% we don't.
One of the difficult questions, Dr. Souchak and Dr. IPS, I would have to ask you is, lot of doctors who want to be a part of any of these things are sometimes scared of the medico-legal aspect, like the difficult situation that I've taken it across, or surgery, I have amputated that person's thing. It was a difficult call that I had to take it across. What is the law? What is the protection? What it is? Dr. Souchak, your views on it?
I would like to add one more thing. The Epidemic Act itself safeguards you, safeguards the doctor. See, in such situations, which is very, very rare, everyone is thinking of one's own life, number one. Number two, doctor is putting his life at risk to save somebody's life. So I think people who are closely associated at the time of emergency, they realize what doctors are working. So we don't get any medical legal cases during all such floods or earthquakes or, such emergencies. I get railway accidents also regularly because my hospital is very close to the station. So all the railway accidents which occur nearby are brought to my hospital. Then we do whatever orthopedic emergencies are required, or brain surgeries are required, that is taken care of. So that is a medical legal, but nobody bothers you for, as a doctor is sued for such a thing. So I think even if you at times our chief minister or prime minister, at least they have always mentioned frontline workers, doctors and paramedics, people are working for so long, so many hours. It's not easy. It's not easy. And today you understand people in COVID with those PPE kits to work for 6 hours or 8 hours without drinking a glass of water, or you can't go to the toilet to, So it's not easy. And you get dehydrated when you come out of it. Then you are supposed to take bath and take care of your family. A lot of people stayed in the hotel or somewhere else, guest house.
Yes.
And because they always worry about their parents or their children, they get infected from them. So much devotion and dedication doctors are working. It's unbelievable. It's very nice.
Dr. Souchak, sir.
For me, life-changing experience was when I was an intern in 1978. And I was coming back from my rural internship. And somewhere near Andheri, I had a very bad fatal road accident. Absolutely, my spleen had ruptured. I was in hypotension. I was asked to be taken to the Cooper Hospital. I requested the taxi driver to take me to my own Souchak Hospital. When we reached here, my blood pressure had dropped to almost 40. They took me immediately to the operation theatre. This is 1978. And on the table, I had a cardiac arrest. I was revived on the table. My spleen was removed. They had given me something like 10 to 12 bottles of blood. And that time I realized that God has given me a second life, and it has a meaning and purpose. Somebody or help to save a life, that becomes my motto of all my life. And this was a very, very life-changing experience. And I have tremendous conviction about it. Life is all about what we can do for others. And being a doctor, it's a tremendous satisfaction what you get. It's unbelievable. When you come home after saving a life or, reducing somebody's pain, and so it's very satisfying. God, has helped me today. So, but whenever I go for emergency patients, this is something out of the medical distinct. I always believe God is my partner. I remember God and I attend to serious patients. It helps me tremendously. And a lot of patients are saved. And this is whatever, it's a belief, but it has helped me tremendously. Universe is helping me.
Thank you so much, Isha, for everything. Thank you, Dr. Souchak.
Thank you.
Very, very insightful. Thanks a lot.